Let's have a go at questions that ask us to expand an expression that has two sets of brackets in it. So here we have a question that asks us to expand and simplify 1 plus x in brackets times by 3 plus 2x in brackets. So often you'll just see the two sets of brackets written next to each other like this. But what it really secretly means is this set of brackets times by, there's sort of an invisible multiply sign here, 3 plus 2x. So it's everything in this first bracket times by everything in this second bracket. So our aim to expand these sets of brackets means essentially we want to get rid of the brackets. We want to rewrite this expression into something that means exactly the same thing, it just doesn't have brackets in it. So first up, we're going to write out the question. We're going to follow the same set of steps that we did for single brackets. So we're going to start off drawing bubbles and arrows. Now it's a little bit different here because we've got our two sets of brackets, but we're still going to draw bubbles around every single term that we see, including any signs that come before the term. So let's start off here on the left-hand side. The first term is a 1, so we're going to draw a bubble around the 1. The next term is this x, and we're going to draw a bubble around it, including any signs that come before it. So the plus is before it, so we're going to group that in with the x. Then we have a 3, this gets its own bubble. And then we have a plus 2x, the plus is before it, so it goes in the bubble with it. Now, much like before, we're going to draw on some arrows. This bubble is going to go to everything in this second set of brackets. So this 1 is going to go to the 3, and it's going to go to the plus 2x. I'm going to get another colour now, because we're going to draw some more arrows, this time from the second term in this first set of brackets, the plus x. This also goes to everything in the second set of brackets. So the plus x is also going to go to the 3, and it's also going to go to the plus 2x. So we've drawn 4 bubbles and 4 arrows in this case. Then, much like before, we're going to multiply along these arrows. We need to be careful here because we've now got 4 arrows to deal with. Let's start with the arrows coming from this very first term, these orange arrows. Here we have a 1, times by, following that first orange arrow, a 3. 1 times 3, that's just 3. Then we've got the next orange arrow, so we have the 1 times by plus 2x. One lot of plus 2x is just plus 2x. One lot of anything is just itself. Okay, so those were the orange arrows. Let's do the green ones. Green arrows come from this plus x, so we're going to have our plus x, following the first green arrow, the 3. So plus x times by 3. Well, we first times together the number terms, so we have a 3 here, and remember if we've got a letter on its own, it's got an invisible 1 in front of it. Plus x is secretly the same as plus 1x. Plus x plus 1x, the same thing. Plus 1 times by 3 is plus 3. So we times together the number terms. Then we times together our matching letter terms. So we have the x here, no letter terms here, so just that 1x, so that just goes here. So plus x times 3 plus 3x. Now we've got our plus x times by, following the second green arrow, plus 2x. So again, remember we've got this sort of hidden 1 here in front of the lone x. So we times together the number bits. So we've got our plus 1 times by plus 2, that's plus 2. And then we've got the letter terms multiplied together. So we've got our x times by our x. X times x is x squared. So be really careful when you've got an x in both terms. That gives us a squared term. So we've done all our multiplications. Much like with single brackets, we now just put together all the things we've written down here. So our final answer is going to be 3 plus 2x plus 3x plus 2x squared. This is our expression expanded. We've multiplied everything in the first bracket by everything in the second bracket, and we've got this result here. So we've done our step 1 and we've done step 2. Step 3 is simplify, and note the question also told us to simplify. So we can't just stop here, we need to do one more thing. Simplifying means squidging together like terms, so terms that are made of the same sort of things. So here we have a number term, here's a number term with an x, here's a number term with an x, and here's a number term with an x squared. The only two things that were the same there were these two ones, the number and the x. So we can squidge together the 2x and the 3x. Here we're adding, not multiplying, so we need to be careful not to get confused. When we're adding, if we pretend our symbol is something else, say apples, or maybe eggs, because that sounds like x. If we had 2 eggs plus 3 eggs, that would be 5 eggs. So this is 5x. 3 plus 5x plus 2x squared. So this is our final answer. We have expanded and simplified this expression to get 3 plus 5x plus 2x squared. Let's try another question. So I've written out this expression here where we have a 3x minus 1 times by 5 plus 4x, and again we want to expand and simplify. So let's do the expanding first. So we're going to draw on our bubbles and arrows. So we'll draw bubbles around every single term, including the signs that come before a term. So being careful to include these signs. Now we're going to draw arrows. So remember, we pick our first bubble here and we draw arrows to each bubble in the second set of brackets. So here 3x goes to 5 and 3x goes to plus 4x. Now we take the next bubble in that first set of brackets. So here the minus 1. And this needs to be multiplied by everything in the second set of brackets as well. So minus 1 goes to 5 and it goes to plus 4x. Following our first arrow from our first bubble, we have 3x times by 5. Terms times together, 3 times 5 is 15. And then we just have the 1x, so that's an x. 3x times by, following the second arrow, plus 4x. So the number terms, we have 3 times plus 4, that's plus 12. Then we have the letter terms, we have an x times an x. X times x, remember, is x squared. Remember that squared. Now looking at the green arrows, we have a minus 1 times by 5. Minus 1 times 5 is just minus 5. Then the second green arrow, we have minus 1 times by plus 4x. And minus 1 times plus 4, so the number terms together, that gives us a minus 4. And x, well, there's just one x here, so we just have the single x. So putting all of this together, we get 15x plus 12x squared minus 5 minus 4x. Now that's this expression expanded, but we need to simplify it. We have a number in an x term, a number in an x squared term, a number term, and then a number in an x term again. So these are the only two terms that can be squidged together. They're the only similar sort of terms. Here in this case we're subtracting 15x minus 4x. If you had 15 eggs and you took away 4 eggs, how many eggs would you have? You'd have 11 eggs. So this is 11x plus 12x squared minus 5. And this is our final answer. This is this expression expanded and then now simplified here. If you want, you can rewrite this. You can move the terms around in a different order. So it's more common to see the bigger x term on the left-hand side. So this is also the same as I could put this x squared term at the start, plus this 11x, it's the positive 11x, minus the 5. This is the same thing as well. So both these two expressions are this expanded and simplified. This is a slightly more common format to see it in, with the x squared term on the left, followed by the x term, followed by the number. But it doesn't really matter, both of these are correct answers. Let's do a final question. So this time we're doing 5 minus y times 7 minus 2y. And we've got y's this time instead of x's. But remember, it doesn't matter what letter's in the question, you treat them the same. Pretend the y is an x if it helps. But it could be an A, it could be a B, it could be a Z, any letter could appear instead of an x. But you just treat it exactly the same way. So first off, we'll draw our bubbles and our arrows. So arrows going from this first term into each of the terms in the second bracket, and then from the next term in our first bracket to each of the terms in the second bracket as well. Following our first arrow, we have 5 times 7, which is just 35. Then we have 5 times by minus 2y. Have a think what this is before I write it. We have 5 times minus 2, which is minus 10. And then we just have the y on its own here. Following the first green arrow now, we have minus y times by 7. 7 lots of minus y. Perhaps you can see straight away as just minus 7y. If that's not natural to you, again, you can imagine that this y has an invisible 1 in front of it. It's secretly minus 1y. And you could do the minus 1 times the 7 to give the minus 7, and then just the y term on its own. The second arrow, we have minus y times by minus 2y. So the number terms together, so again, we've got our invisible 1, minus 1 times minus 2. We've got 2 minuses here, they cancel to make a positive, so this is a plus 2. And then we have a y times by a y, which is y squared. So let's chuck all these terms together. We have 35 minus 10y minus 7y plus 2y squared. Now we need to simplify as our final step. Have a quick think before I write down what this is simplified. So the only terms that are the same sort of type of term are this one and this one. They both have a number and a y. So we can squidge them together. Minus 10y minus 7y. If you had minus 10 apples and you took away another 7, you'd be on minus 17 apples. So this is minus 17y. So we have 35 minus 17y plus 2y squared. And that is our final answer. Again, you can reorder the terms if you like. You could also write this as 2y squared minus 17y plus 35. Those two things are exactly the same, just reordered to put the y squared at the start. But unless the question asks for it, you don't need to do that. Either of those is fine. So you've successfully learned how to expand and then simplify double brackets. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more aesthetic mathsy videos, do check out my channel and subscribe.